Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to have you back on my channel. In today's episode, the story is no longer just about the familiar slices of everyday life. Not just simple images, not just peaceful moments, but hidden deep within is a very long journey. A journey of humanity, of gratitude, of silent sacrifices, and of choices. When people are forced to stand at crossroads, where every decision can change the entire path ahead. One morning, everything begins like any other day. Tien wakes up in the scorching heat of a new day. The sunlight is no longer gentle, but harsh, seeping through every gap of the door, covering the room with a feeling that is both suffocating and heavy, just like what is weighing on her heart at this moment. The stifling air makes every breath feel slower. Every movement seems to be dragged down, heavy and burdened. But what keeps Tien restless from the moment she opens her eyes is not the weather, not the heat outside, but the invisible pressure that is growing day by day, quietly weighing on Jack's shoulders. The bank debt is no longer something in the distant future, but is getting closer, day by day, hour by hour. There is no more time to delay, no more space to step back. Even though Jack still tries to keep a calm tone, still says, everything is fine, as a way to reassure, as a way to protect not only himself, but also Tien. But Tien understands, better than anyone, that some things not being said does not mean they don't exist. Some worries don't need to be spoken, yet are still clearly visible. Through the eyes, through the silence, through long nights, without a full sleep. She doesn't ask further, doesn't press him, doesn't try to dig into what Jack is trying to hide. Not because she doesn't care, but because she understands that sometimes silence at the right moment is the best form of care, not adding more pressure, not making things heavier. She chooses to stay, chooses to accompany him in a quiet way, but persistent, and to help with everything she can. It doesn't have to be something big, doesn't have to be an immediate solution, just small actions, but enough to share, even just a tiny part of the burden on the shoulders of the one she loves. Tien decides to make banduk, a very simple dish, not fancy, not expensive, but carrying a lot of hope. Hope that, from those small portions, piece by piece, she can earn a little extra money. Not much, but at least it is a contribution, a way to stand with Jack and share the current difficulties. She begins preparing the ingredients, step by step, slowly, carefully, not rushing, not careless. Every stage is done meticulously, as if she is putting into it not only effort, but also faith, the belief that as long as they keep trying, as long as they don't give up, everything will eventually find a way to be overcome. Every small movement, every familiar action, repeated, but today, carries a different meaning. Not just cooking, not just making a dish, but a way for her to keep, for herself, and for Jack, a direction, a feeling that everything is still under control, that despite the hardship, they are still trying, still moving forward. But amidst all those worries, Tien does not forget one thing more important than anything else. Jack has been very tired, not the kind of exhaustion that is easily seen, not complaints spoken out loud, but a slow erosion, happening day by day, quietly, sleepless nights, when everything around has fallen into silence, but in his mind, nothing stops. Thoughts keep coming, without an end. Hours, pressures, responsibilities, intertwined, stacking up, making it impossible for him to find a complete sleep. And then, the next morning, everything continues, as if nothing ever happened. Those very things are silently wearing him down, little by little, not loudly, but enough to make a person gradually become exhausted. That's why, after preparing everything she needs, Tien goes to the market, not just to buy more ingredients, not just a routine task, but also for another purpose, a kind of care, very small, but very real. She buys pork heart, buys mugwort, ingredients that are not special, but can be cooked into a dish that helps Jack sleep better. It's not something grand, not a solution to everything, but it is care at the right moment. A meal, a little attention, a subtle understanding. No need to say anything, yet still enough for the other person to feel it. And sometimes it is exactly these simple things, these small, unnoticed moments, that become what keeps a person standing firm through the hardest days. The reason they don't give up, the support that helps them keep moving forward, even when ahead there are still so many unknowns. And it is from these small things that the story will continue, with choices, with challenges waiting ahead. In another place, while worries were still quietly unfolding behind the scenes, Jack was with Mr. Dung on a very different path. No longer about numbers, no longer about the heavy financial pressure, no longer about the constant phone calls or sleepless nights, but instead, a trip to look at land, a beginning for a new choice, a piece of land lying quietly in an open space, not too noisy, not crowded, just like the way the two people standing there were searching for. But this land was not simply meant to be bought, not an investment, not a calculation of profit, but a place to start over, a stopping point after so many long journeys they had gone through. Few people knew that behind what seemed like a simple decision today was actually a very long story, very deep, and very heavy. A story about help, about choices that were never easy, and above all, about gratitude. When Jack fell into his most difficult time, when everything around him became unstable, when the company could no longer maintain its stability, when every decision carried immense pressure, when debts began to pile up and push everything to the edge of collapse, at that very moment, someone chose to step forward, quietly, without show, without needing recognition. That person was Mr. Dung. He chose to stop his own business, to stop what he had pursued for many years, not because of failure, not because he couldn't continue, but because he decided to put something else above everything. He used all the money he had saved, little by little, over so many years, to help Jack, not just a part, but everything, to pay off debts, to preserve what could still be saved, to keep the company from being completely swept away, and to help Jack stand back up. A decision that was not easy, because behind that amount was not just money, but time, effort, a long journey of accumulation, years of sacrifice to earn it. And yet, he still chose to give it, without hesitation, without weighing gains and losses. Not for benefit, not expecting anything in return, but simply out of loyalty, out of belief, because he believed Jack deserved a chance to start over, a chance to fix what had gone wrong, and a chance to prove that his help was not misplaced. Time passed. The storms gradually settled. Not that everything became perfect, but at least they were no longer on the brink. Work slowly stabilized. Life found its rhythm again. The pressure was still there, but no longer suffocating. And it was at that moment, when things finally began to steady, another decision was made. The one who chose to step away was once again Mr. Dung. He did not return to business, did not continue what he once built, did not choose the path many would consider reasonable. He chose to leave behind competition, rivalry, the pressure of the business world. Not because he couldn't return, but because he no longer wanted to. After everything he had gone through, after the major decisions, after putting others before himself, what he truly wanted became very simple: a peaceful life. Nothing too much, nothing too complicated, just a garden, a quiet space where he could wake up every day without worry, without chasing anything, where time would pass slower. There were not many words spoken, no flowery sentences, no long expressions of thanks, but in his eyes, in that silence, was everything. Gratitude, deep and sincere. A gratitude that could never be fully expressed in words, because some debts of kindness, once received, can never truly be repaid. It's not about whether it's enough or not enough, but that it cannot be measured, cannot be exchanged. It can only be remembered, carried in the heart through the years, remembered as an inseparable part of one's own journey. And from that very moment, when everything seemed to settle, a new chapter was quietly opening, where the next choices would continue to shape the story they had walked together. Evening, after a long day filled with endless thoughts, Jack returns home. The door opens, the familiar space appears. Nothing has really changed, yet it feels completely different. The small kitchen is still lit. A gentle yellow light spreads across the room, not too bright, but warm enough, like a quiet greeting, silently welcoming the one who has just returned. Tien is still there, not rushing, not busy like during the day, just standing by the familiar kitchen, next to the pot of bon duc still warm, beside the dishes she has just prepared. Everything is simple, yet complete. No need for fancy words, no need for long explanations, no need to say too much. Just seeing each other in that moment is enough. A glance, a gentle look is enough to understand that both of them have gone through a difficult day. They sit down, not in a hurry, not noisy, just a meal in its truest meaning, eating together, talking together, sharing what they have gone through in a long day. Not big stories, not complicated matters, but small pieces that help them understand each other more. Jack begins to speak. His voice is neither fast nor slow, just steady, like he is arranging everything that happened. He talks about the land, about the quiet space he and Mr. Dung stood looking at, about the feeling of thinking of a new beginning, without pressure, without constant competition. Then he speaks about Mr. Dung's decision, a decision that he cannot stop thinking about. Not about leaving, but the way he chose to leave. After everything, after all he had given, after all he had sacrificed, he kept nothing for himself, only choosing a peaceful life. Simple, Jack speaks, without showing too much emotion on the outside, but every word carries a deep weight, about a new beginning, not his, but of the person who once helped him stand up again. A beginning, not loud, but enough to make others reflect. Tien sits there, not interrupting, not adding too much, just quietly listening, her gaze gentle, but deep. No need to ask more, no need to know every detail, because she understands that for Jack, this is not just a story to tell. Not just a trip to see land, but a part of memory, a part of responsibility, and more than anything, a debt of gratitude. Something that cannot be measured by money, cannot be repaid with just one action. It can only be remembered and lived in a way that is worthy. The atmosphere of the meal is not lively, but not heavy either. Everything is just enough. Enough for two people after a long day to find balance again. The next day, as the morning light begins to slip through every corner, another rhythm of life continues. Tien brings the bond to the market. Small bags, carefully wrapped, neatly prepared. Each bag costs only 10,000 VND, a very small number, but behind it is a whole day of effort, time, hard work, patience. At first, she is still shy, her eyes hesitant, her voice not yet natural. Every invitation requires a bit of courage. Every smile feels slightly forced. But then, with each passerby, each glance, each small response, gradually, everything changes. Her invitations become more natural, her smiles more genuine, and her confidence comes slowly, not rushed, but clear. And beside her is still Jack, not standing far, not leaving, always there, in a quiet way, not doing it for her, not interfering, but always present, like a support, a companionship that needs no words. Each bag of bond is handed over.
No noise,
No loud calls,
no crowded chows.
just one person at a time, one small moment after another, but enough to bring a kind of joy, not a big joy, but a real one. By the end of the day, as the sunlight softens, the last bags are sold out. Nothing remains. Tien stands there, looking at the empty basket, then gently smiles. A soft smile, not too bright, but sincere, because she knows these small things are steps forward. Day by day, they are moving ahead, maybe slowly, maybe not immediately clear, but surely. Life is still not perfect. There are still difficulties, pressures, things that cannot be solved right away. But one thing has changed. They are no longer alone, because beside them, they have each other, not leaving, not abandoning. And behind them is not only the past, but also people like Mr. Dung, those who are willing to reach out when others are on the edge of collapse. No need for big reasons, no conditions required. Simply because of humanity. Perhaps the most valuable thing in life is not money, not visible success, but in the hardest moments, there is still someone who believes in you, someone willing to help you, and more importantly, someone who stays by your side. If you've watched until here, take a moment, leave a message, a wish for Jack,
Tien,
and Mr. Dung, the people who have shown us that human kindness is not something distant, but something that exists in the simplest things. And don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel to continue following these meaningful stories ahead. See you again in the next episodes.
Xin chào mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Nay thì mình đang làm video về câu chuyện của Tự Tiên và Giác nha mọi người. Hiện tại thì mình vẫn đang làm, chưa có hoàn thành. Vậy thì như mọi người cũng đã xem video thì mọi người cũng đã biết là Giác và Tự Tiên thì đang ở trong cái tình trạng là khủng hoảng về kinh tế rất là nặng. Và bác Dũng là một người mà cũng phải nói gần như là cha của Giác thì đã giúp là ông đã lấy hết số vốn của mình đưa cho Jack để giải quyết khủng hoảng. Sau đó còn lại một ít thì ông đã chọn mua một miếng đất ở xa và chuyển về quê làm. Vậy thì liệu mọi chuyện tiếp theo sẽ ra sao, diễn biến câu chuyện như thế nào, Jack sẽ làm gì để đền đáp những ơn nghĩa của bác Dũng đã giúp mình, và liệu anh có vượt qua khó khăn lần này hay không, và Tử Tiên có đồng hành với anh đến cuối con đường. Lúc khó khăn này cô có ở bên yêu thương và che chở cho anh, giúp đỡ cả hai cùng vượt qua hay không, thì mời mọi người cùng đón xem tập sau. Và đừng quên đăng ký kênh mình và chuông thông báo lên để không bỏ lỡ bất kỳ video nào nhé. Tạm biệt mọi người, hẹn gặp lại ở video sau.